Good morning, everybody. This is Tuesday, 8:15 a.m. We got about 15 minutes until CPI kicks off at 8:30 a.m. March 12th, 2024. I'm going to start with the ES index future. So you can see this is a daily chart. We're literally in a very strong rally right now. Bull rally. But if we start digging down to, say, a 1 hour, I think we're starting to see some potential opportunities to the downside. Okay, so the very first thing I do, especially ahead of a news event, is such as CPI, is I'm always going to ask myself this first question: where is the liquidity? Okay, where are the levels that price will most likely draw to? Okay, so I start with a daily chart, and on a daily chart, I'm looking for apparent levels. Okay, now apparent levels for me are levels that are either fractal lows or highs. So, for example, this one here is a fractal low because it has a higher low on either side of it. Okay, so that's an apparent level. This is an apparent level. Okay, and then this one here is also an apparent level. So already we can see we have some stacked liquidity down here. And markets like to, these areas here are could be a potential draw on liquidity because there's a lot of pending orders sitting below these levels. Going down to a 1 hour, you can see that it is more apparent that there is another level here. Now, what's up here? Well, up here there was a level, but this level got rated last week on NFP. Okay, this was Friday, March 8th. So I think what could happen here is I'm always looking for some sort of a price manipulation event, especially on these CPI news events. So I'm looking for areas where markets could go, where price could run a certain level to go lower. So it will run higher initially to go lower, or run lower initially to go higher. Okay. So it will usually run higher with the intent to trap traders and move lower, or run lower first on a news event to trap traders and then eventually move higher. Okay. It rarely will just, run higher to move higher and run lower to move lower, if that makes any sense. But so what are the levels here that are of interest, given that we have CPI in about 10 minutes? Okay, so this level right here on ES is gonna be in play. All right, so we could see this level get run out on the news, so we could see a higher move higher to absorb all of the buy side liquidity above this high, and then fail and start targeting these levels down here. Okay, I don't think these will be in play today, but these could definitely be in play today. These levels down here could be in play on Thursday or Friday if we have a continuation move in the direction that it chooses to pick, depending on what happens today. But so this level here is definitely in play. So what I potentially am planning for, okay, so this is a potential scenario here, is, and again, this is for educational purposes only. I'm not telling anybody to take a short in here or go long. But what could potentially happen is we could run this level on news, maybe come up to these levels up here, and then once this area here gets filled, okay, it may start drifting lower, and the true move could happen either towards the end of the day, where we see big moves towards these levels down here. All right, so that's one potential scenario. Another potential scenario is we just kind of, fail, or not fail. We just drive lower from here and target these levels. But I think it is more likely for it to manipulate somehow, or trap longs first to sell off. Okay, so we got about 9 minutes left. Let's go to NASDAQ real quick. It's probably going to be the same look. So NASDAQ is even more NASDAQ is very interesting, okay, because we have these double bottoms here. Okay, so there's massive liquidity down here. This is a 1 hour, okay. I'm trying to capture a weekly range here. I'm not. These are intraday to multi-day setups. Okay, so there's definitely a lot of liquidity here. Let's go to a 4 hour real quick. So this up and down here, that's clear to me. That's clear distribution. Okay, these are the levels. This level here on a daily, this is the level that I think was rated. Okay, so this is a level where buy side liquidity was already absorbed. So again, the manipulation here on CPI could be a run higher to maybe fill in the 18,500 zone, maybe target this area down up here. Anything between 18,400 and 18,500, and then a run lower, a drive lower to target these liquidity pools. Okay, so there's a liquidity pool here, and there's also a liquidity pool, sell side liquidity pool right here. Okay, so again, the manipulation that I'm looking for here is run higher to fail and then drive lower. Could it run lower, run these, and then go higher? Yeah, sure, it could. I think it's just less likely, because I think the opportunity in this chart is here. Meaning, if I were to take a trade here, I would look for a sell up here to capture profits at these levels. Okay. About 7 minutes left here. Let's go to small caps real quick, RTY, because RTY is also a very interesting one. So again, I ask myself, I look at the chart and I say, okay, where's the liquidity? Liquidity is above and below highs that are apparent. Okay, so these are, sorry, highs and lows. So these are the lows. This is the high up here. There's another high right here. Okay, these are apparent levels of where sell side below price and buy side liquidity pools sit and exist. So small caps, I've talked about this chart before in my previous videos, but similar to the indices, but a lot of these have this nice clean trend line. Okay, you could literally draw a 45-degree trend line, and these, when they're so clean like this, and they just get tested over and over again, they're more likely to fail eventually. So I am looking for this imaginary trend line to somehow to fail, to break, and I think this week could be that we could see that break. Now, I don't like to draw a trend line. I would rather identify horizontal liquidity pools. Okay, so this is a 4 hour. Let's move to a 1 hour. Okay, now look at this. 1, 2, 3. These are unhit lows. 1, 2, 3. See, all these lows are unhit. So this level here is going to be a pretty big draw on price. There's a double bottom down here, smaller one, and then there's additional levels here, and say here as well. Okay, so now it's about 4 minutes left here. So what I would expect, again, I would expect a move higher to absorb at least this liquidity. It could potentially come all the way up to here. I mean, it's not, obviously everything is possible, right? But I think that if we do run higher, again, it's the same scenario. We're going to absorb this liquidity, trap longs, and then start targeting these lows by the end of the day, and maybe come down here by the end of the week. So that's what I'm looking for. One more. Now, before we move on here to another chart, the other scenario is obviously we run lower first. Okay, we break these levels lower. Now, if we break these levels lower, say we start breaking this one, this one, this one, and then potentially this one down here, it's going to be a little bit harder for me to, because I tend to like to target these levels. So if it cleans these levels right off the bat, right, I'm not really left with potential targets that would be salient for me to target. Okay, so I would rather it move higher, give me an opportunity to sell, and then target these levels lower. If it moves lower, runs these liquidity pools, I guess one scenario, one trade that I may potentially, or an idea that could evolve here is, let's see if I can do this with a brush. So if we do this immediately, run these lower, okay, and then we don't quite get to these lows, we reverse here, right? So at this point, it's going to be harder for me to determine where price is eventually going to go, because it's going to, as soon as it absorbs liquidity for the day. So like today, for example, 8:30 a.m. is coming up in 2 minutes, but we're in a range. So it's building liquidity, it's engineering liquidity. Okay. So if it runs this level here and comes back into the range, the setup becomes harder, because I'm still going to be looking for these levels to get hit. So I'm going to be inclined to still try to take shorts towards these levels, but it may want to come up and take these levels one more time, you know, and then eventually, I think this area here is going to be hard to get through, in my opinion, because the manipulation here has already occurred. So I think it's going to be harder for price to run through and make a new high. So I would envision this to eventually, peter out up here somewhere, and then start moving lower and target these additional liquidity pools. So then once that happens, that trend line that we talked about on a higher time frame would have been taken out. So, well, it's 8:30 right now, so we can see. Let's remove our drawings here. There we go. There we go. So it just cleared all these levels out. So now this is going to be a harder trade for me to take because I don't want to be selling into the. I'm not. First of all, I never or very rarely take any trades on the news. Okay, right on the news. I want to see. I want to wait about an hour or so and understand what price did. Okay, so right now, do you see how it just cleared out all of the levels we were talking about right off the bat? Would have preferred. Um, so yeah, I mean this is what it is. Um, let's go to the ES real quick. Okay, so ES is still in the range. We've had this one move down here. So these levels here, 5208, are still possible. We could still see a move to trap these traders. See, I'm looking for areas where traders are being taken out or orders are being absorbed because those are the areas where I want to be involved in one shape or form based on bias. Okay, so what the bias is. So right now, my bias, given that we have all these liquidity pools down here, my bias is bearish because we have untapped liquidity, sell side liquidity, and then we have this level up here that's already been run out last week. So I'm looking for this level to offer resistance. Okay, so even if we run higher today, Peter, and then see prices move into this area, I would be hesitant to be bullish because these liquidity pools have still been left intact. Whereas RTY now is a much harder, see what happens here, is a much harder trade because it ran all these levels out, all this liquidity right off the bat as soon as the news came up. So because I like to target liquidity, there's nothing really to target anymore on this particular trade or setup because it's already done the work in like a split second, if that makes any sense. So then we go to a 4-hour, kind of see what could potentially happen here. You see, it just broke that trend line we talked about. So this level here is going to be important. The 29.97, 29.100. Anything above that has already been rated. Okay, the liquidity above this level has been absorbed already. So if we, again, same principle here, if we start moving higher into this area, that's where I would probably look for opportunities to sell. Let's look at oil real quick. Oil didn't do much. Oil is actually a pretty interesting chart, and this is why it's the 1 hour. Okay, so we see this level here has been rated already twice on this move here, deeper pullback, and then we have all these levels. We have this level here, and we have a level up here, and then these levels. But going to a higher time frame, again, the same principle here is you have to look at what happened on a higher time frame. You can see this level here has been rated already. And then these two levels here have been rated as well. So there's a lot of levels up here that it already came into. So this is also this is not an easy chart in my opinion, because we're smack in the middle of this dealing range. We have levels that have already been traded through up here. And then we have these levels down here that have still to be traded too. We have a double bottom here. So this is an interesting zone. So if we start moving lower and breaking this low, 75.50 would be the next level to look for as a draw on liquidity. But given the current price in here, given the day of the week, going to a 1 hour, you can clearly see that we've already rated this level here yesterday. And so I think it is more likely to hold this, move up here, and start trading into these inefficiencies. Okay, so inefficiencies to me are big down candles with not a lot of price traded through. Like this area here is very efficient because you have a lot of wicks and down, up and downs, up and downs. But this here, there's imbalances in here for ICT would call them fair value gaps, right? Where price has traded inefficiently. So it is more likely for price to come and offer buy side in here because there has only been sell side. So this could be a potential target for today if we hold 77.60, 77.52. I think it's more likely to hold this because it's already rated this 77.50 level. Let's look at ES real quick. So ES came up. This is manipulation. Well, this is the first point of interest here that it did manipulate. So now it's 8:37 in the morning. This move here could just be an opportunity to trap longs and go lower and start targeting liquidity below us, okay, down here. Sorry, this is ES, continuous. Yeah, so this is really what I'm looking for. Is I don't trust this break, especially pre-open. Okay, so after CPI, yes, we did run these lows here with this big candle, but it's going to be important to see what happens in this area this morning, because it may very easily fail. And if it fails and starts running lower, these are going to be in play either today or by the end of the week. All right, that's it for today.